Shepherds of Men is a secular movement started by three men of faith. We wholeheartedly believe that when we get the men right, we get the world right. We believe this because we believe that men are created and called to be leaders, and we believe there is an alarming deficit of leadership in our world today.
And although the three of us have come from drastically different backgrounds, our core principles have given us a unified voice that is needed now more than ever to pave the way for a fundamental change in our culture.
We are quite literally calling men to something great.
Welcome to the movement.
All right, what's up, gentlemen? I am JP. I will be bringing you the movement where we develop character, which ultimately turns into influence, which paves the way for a fundamental change in our society today, which my brother from another mother, Cam, is on here with me.
What's up?
How you doing, buddy?
Never better, dude. Never
You
better.
are looking slimmer, though. I feel like I just saw you a couple weeks ago, but you do look slimmer.
Bro, I've been putting in work.
I know you have.
Putting in work. I need a spot though. Whenever you decide you want to come down here to Chattanooga, I need a spot because literally this morning I went up again, and I was like, man, if I just had, I guess I got to make new friends. We'll talk about that in a training. If you guys need to know how to do that, our vault will soon be holding the information of networking and connecting. But yeah, dude, I appreciate it. I feel good. Still got some body fat to lose, but we've been doing the meal. We haven't been prepping. We are doing the lazy meal prepping. We're just buying it and they're sending it to our house because we live a very productive lifestyle, and the idea of spending all day Sunday cooking is not an idea at all. So yeah, it's been good though, and I feel the muscle mass is coming on. The weight the body fat is going down slowly, but I still got some work to do, but feeling good about it. I'm getting stronger, that's for damn sure.
No, you do. You look good, man. I'm not just saying that. You look good. It's coming along.
Well, the haircut is slimming too. So
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Took some off the sides so it makes you look slimmer.
Yeah,
maybe it's that badass long sleeve thin hoodie that you got on there.
Also helps. It's really a combo of everything. I spent most of the day just trying to get you to compliment me on how good I look. I was like, if I put all these pieces in place.
That was the prep conversation before the podcast.
Yeah.
No, but hey,
since our mission is to build influential men and make masculinity cool again, then I should be seeking some man love.
There you go.
It falls right in line, right?
Yeah, and all of you listening, don't be afraid to give love to your homies either.
That's right.
But speaking of swag, our new website has just gone live. If you go in there,
we can look at it.
If you go in there and take a look at it, and you have any feedback, please openly provide that back to us. We understand there's some bugs in it, and it's something, how we do. We're going to launch stuff, and then we're going to make it better along the way. So any feedback is well received and stuff. I know I've already had a couple people reaching out to me just recently. Cam, I haven't even told you about this, but just got a message yesterday about somebody asking about how they can get involved and what the different ways are to get involved and stuff. So our goal is to make it easier and easier on you to get involved and to get what you need, right? Because ultimately what Cam and I'll speak for Cam, what we want to make men that are living fulfilling lives that are, just productive citizens of society, man. And when it comes down to it, like that's our whole goal and mission. If the world's better because we existed, then we succeed.
Yeah, and influential too, because a big piece of where we're missing it in society today is that, the masculine role has been attacked. It has been removed in a lot of cases. It has been watered down, pussified, as we say. And, a big part of our mission is to make masculinity cool again, but not just for cool's sake. It's kind of a joking way to say it, but it's so necessary. And we, sometimes when we're on here, at least I do, I feel like we're just on repeat, but then I think back like, wow, truth is truth, and there's only so much of it, and maybe repeat is what we need. My pastor always talks about playing a one-string guitar. He just says the same thing over and over again. He's like, when it comes to being a better Christian, like reading your Bible is like the number one thing I would tell you to do. Like maybe not the whatever, however he says it, but it's like it's not new information. Like it's all right here. Read it. And there's not new information necessarily when it comes to being a man and how important that role is and what it looks like as a husband, as a father, as a leader in your community. But it's if we don't continue to tell the stories, we don't continue to teach the principles and live by example, then we turn out with what we have, because the fact of the matter is the opposition, the enemy, is going to be relentless. They are going to be continuously attacking over and over and over again. So we're just going to keep shooting the same bullet back, and we already know that there's victory there. And I will say this: I'm proud of you if you're listening to this right now, because no doubt you have seen what we've seen. You're fully aware. I think even the people that don't want to admit it can't argue the fact that masculinity is not what it once was, or maybe I should say, not as prevalent as it once was, because there's almost this apologetic, and I don't mind saying this comparison either, just like white people nowadays. It's almost like some white people feel like they got to apologize for being white. Like, I think it's complete bullshit. I'm not going to apologize for my skin color. I'm not going to apologize for my gender. I'm not going to apologize for my beliefs and values. I'm not apologizing for any of that shit. That's who I am. That's how God created me. And if you have an issue with it, then that's your issue. You're not projecting that shit on me. And the other side of that is, not only do I need to be secure in that and take ownership of it, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about, but we also need to make sure that the ripple effect of what we're teaching our kids. And JP, I went back and listened to the training that we did last week to our Men Reforged group. And I'm not saying this to be self-edifying to either of us, but it was some badass training. And it was some things, some thoughts, and some words that I believe were given to us, and a message that was given to us because it was really important to be put out there. But you and I both on there talked about a comparison of, where we're at right now and how we raise our kid. When I say we, how the average American, will just say, raises their sons compared to how the Spartans raised their sons, and how like completely different that is. Now, we didn't say like we need to go full Spartan, right? I don't think we do. I don't think it's necessary for us to go full Spartan on our kids, because our kids won't encounter the kinds of things that those Spartan warriors did. However, from a mentality standpoint and from a toughness and all those kinds of things, we have gone so far. I'll just say to the left. You could argue what direction, but I'll say so far to the left of what the Spartan foundation was, that it's sad to see. We're almost scared to toughen up our boys to make them men. And you made a comment on there about somebody that said it was a lady, I think it was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but she said one of the hardest things for me to do is to watch my husband help my boys become men. Because it is, you have to let them go through some stuff, and sometimes you have to intentionally put them through some stuff, or they're not going to learn it, and they're going to be weak. And weakness, entitlement, all these things that are epidemics in our society right now are just not. They're not okay, And as for JP and I, and as for the Men Reforged movement, we're just not having it anymore.
Yep, I totally agree, dude. When you said that, it reminded me. So. Candace Owens did a speech just recently. And if you don't know who Candace Owens is, go check her out. If you don't like her, you might want to find another podcast. But she was up there giving a speech, and she was like, talking about how things need to change, and some of the craziness, like the pedophilia and normalizing some of this stuff and everything. And she was like, and here's the thing. She said, to all you people out there right now that maybe don't necessarily believe in what the left believes. And when I say left, I'm talking about from a political stance and generally a paradigm of how you see the world and what you believe policies should be and what the government should control. But she said, to all of you that are out there saying, you know what, we need to figure out where we can come to a common ground and work together and stuff. She said, I'm not talking to you. She said, we don't need that anymore. We need fighters now. And it was funny she said that, because we just did that training not too long ago. We were talking about drawing the line. Like, it's time to draw the line. There's no more negotiations anymore and stuff like that. Like, there are areas in your life where you need to find common ground with people from an interdependent standpoint, but there are other areas in your life where you should never allow that boundary to be crossed. And if it is crossed, it has to come with consequences. So,
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny you said that, because I heard Candace Owens saying that, and I was like, man, I could not agree more. And we're at that stage now. And where I think a lot of men need is just permission. Like, it's okay. It's okay to be a dick in that situation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Good, go ahead.
But they have been told that it's not, whether it be by their mother, because there was no father, and maybe in a lot of cases not any fault of the mother. She just is doing what she knows to do and trying her damnedest. She was never designed to play the role of turning that boy into a man. She was designed to nurture and to love, but not to help him become a man. And maybe certainly in school, our school system is completely fucked, in the public school system, and especially at the university level. It's just a complete system of indoctrination. And so you have these young males that have been watered down, they've been pussified, they've been weakened, and it's not even through fault of theirs either. It's just that's the gauntlet that they came through, and this is what was created on the other side. I think, like, I'm thinking about just watching the assembly line from the time they're born and until where they're in their late teens, early 20s. And what you end up with now is not what you used to end up with. But it's not because what we started with is different. It's because of all the processes in here. You're an engineer, you know how this stuff works. It's when you change the equation, when you change the algorithm in here of the influence on these young boys, then you go from a little weaker to I think I'm a girl. Yeah. And then you go to, so then I think I'm a girls start having kids, or I think it's okay if I were to think I was a girl. Maybe I don't, but I think it'd be okay if I was. And they start having kids, and now it becomes, maybe my son is a girl. Well, he's 3, and he doesn't know that. I think it's pretty clear that anybody would be able to understand that. I still am having, I mean, literally, I'm speaking like sincerely right now. I'm still having a really hard time wrapping my head around people actually believe that gender is fluid. And I sometimes I'm like, man, I think I'm going to wake up one day and it's just going to be like, no, it's just all just a huge joke. We were kidding, because it's that absurd. It really is that absurd. Like, it used to be things we argued about were like, value differences, or, viewpoints that were different, or, views of the world that were a little different, or whatever. Now we're arguing about facts. Like, it's weird to argue about facts, because it's like 2 + 2 equals whatever we want it to equal now. And that's just not true. It's just not true. So all that to say that I agree with you 100%, JP, that like when people start looking you in the face and saying 2 + 2 equals whatever I feel like it equaling today, you have to call bullshit. Mm-hmm. And the people that are most likely going to call bullshit and that really need to call bullshit are men. Yep. Men need to step up and go, you're a fucking idiot. 2 + 2 is 4. It always has been. It always will be. End of discussion. Right. And if you're going to continue to lie to yourself that it equals anything else, then I'm going to need you to isolate somewhere and not influence my children or the rest of society with your stupid shit. Yeah. Because it's you want to package it, or sometimes I want to package it in some intellectual conversation, but I think we're so far past an intellectual conversation that it literally we just have to dumb it down. And maybe, as I'm realizing this as I'm talking, maybe this is why God felt to put such a passion in my heart from this, kind of ignorant redneck kid from Lewis, Mississippi that doesn't have a lot to work with. But we're to a point where you don't really need a lot to work with. You just need facts, and facts are facts, and they always have been. And so, when we get to the argument of girls are girls and boys are boys, I can fight that battle all day, and never back down and stand on that truth, because it's just really not that hard to stand on. So anyways, I get so fired up about this stuff, man. And I know you do too, but we have to take ownership of the role that we have of calling a spade and saying, you're fucking stupid. Let's stop this insanity. This is a clown world that we're living in right now. And it's time to stop. Like, you almost just want to look at them and like put your hand, like over their lips, just be like, shh, just stop. You're so pretty. Don't talk. Yeah. Like, it's that dumb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and let's be honest, man. They're making it easy on us, right? I mean, that's the all that, and by they, I mean all the people that believe all these feelings, and that like they took you can be whatever you want to a whole new level, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. And you're perfect the way you are. I don't subscribe to that either. And that may sound heartless to some people, but the fact of the matter is, like, I'm just there's certain things that you are not designed for, and if you try to pretend like you are, then you're gonna waste your entire life and just be depressed in a downward spiral. And I'm talking about everything. If I want to go do a dunk contest against, maybe some of the good basketball players like Michael Jordan or something like that, I'm probably not going to stand much of a chance, no matter how much I feel like I'm the greatest basketball player there is out there. I don't subscribe to all that stuff. But what's funny to me is when feelings start to trump facts and reality, entitlement runs rampant, right? Because the reality is what brings us back to our center, right? The facts are what bring us back to our center, right? And ultimately we have to create an environment where consequences are prevalent, right? Like, we have to understand, and that's the tough part, like we talked about with our kids, right? We can't let feelings trump everything. And what we're going to talk about in the podcast today, one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically was ownership, right? And that's what we're getting to right now. Entitlement is just somebody acting on their feelings and believing that it's facts, right? That's what entitlement is. They believe it's facts. They believe it's the way it should be, right? Like, I shouldn't have to go to work today. Somebody should take care of me. Well, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, in the nearsighted aspect of things, but in the far-sighted aspect of things, where the hell's it come from? There's no such thing as free lunch, right? And I understand that. And as much as it sucks, it is what it is, right? Same thing with my kids. You do something wrong, you're going to eat the shit sandwich, right? Like, it's your responsibility to take on those consequences, right? And if you don't, then you never learn. And then daddy's constantly saving you. And it's a perpetual cycle that you just kind of downwardly spiral, right? And that's what we've got into in society today, is we're not consequence based anymore, right? Like, oh, little Johnny he didn't feel like he was like the other boys, right? Or he didn't feel like he could compete with other guys. So he decided to put on a singlet and jump into a pool with the girls. Right. And I know we're stuck on the transgenderism thing because it's a hot topic, and it's a bullshit topic, in my opinion, especially when you start talking about kids. Start talking about drag shows in front of these kids, and they're entertaining kids in a drag show and stuff. There ain't no freaking way that stuff belongs in there. But ultimately, when it comes down to ownership, right? It's ownership is really the absence of entitlement, right? Ownership is a matter of, I'm going to take on whatever needs to be done. And that's a question that I ask a lot of guys that I work with in my professional career and in the Men Reforged program that came in our, how far are you willing to go? Because if that is going to determine your goals and what is reality for you, because reality matters, right? If we have a client that comes to us and they say, hey, I want to be a multimillionaire. I want to be jacked out of my mind. I want to have the best sex that I've ever had my entire life. And I want to be well-respected and influential. Okay, awesome, cool. What are you willing to do? Well, I got about an hour a week. I don't think so, bro. Like, let's be honest here. That's not reality, right? That's not what's going to happen, right? So ultimately, ownership comes down to, what are you willing to do? We talked about this a long time ago from a CEO perspective. If you're making $5-6 million a year, that's impressive. I give you credit for what you've done, because there's a certain level of discipline and dedication that went into getting you there. But if you walk over a piece of trash, it's instant loss of respect. That one piece of trash that you walked over is a loss of respect for me when I look at it. It's just, and I'm not talking about like you're walking out there and you don't see it or something, walk over. I'm saying you see it, you recognize there's a piece of trash there, and you step over it because it's beneath you. It's bullshit. It's not the case. How far are you willing to go to be the influential man that you want to be? If you want to become an influential man, you have to do everything that's necessary. Or let me rephrase that. Everything that is right? And then everything that is necessary has to be done on a daily basis to get you where you want to be at. Kay, I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah, this is why we talk about character so much, because, aside from, prior to all this confusion about gender, one of the prevalent issues in the male side of things was, the things we chased after, which was, money, power, women, whatever. And it was always, shallow or hollow or however you want to say it. And, there was more of a focus on, we got to get men to really get dialed into what's most important, which is your character, your influence, your example, your spiritual health, all those kinds of things. Yes, nothing wrong with making money, nothing wrong with, having power if you use it properly. There's nothing wrong with having a beautiful wife and having an amazing sex life with your beautiful wife. There's all those things are fantastic, and they're urges and desires that God put in us for a reason, but they have to be harnessed and they have to be used properly. So if you're just chasing the money, or you are some, high level corporate guy and you make, X number, whatever a big number is to you, think about twice as much as what's big to you. And you think because of that, you're a badass. Well, because of that, you have fruit on the tree. Well, no, you really don't. You have some fruit, but you also have some bad fruit going on there too. So to me, to somebody like myself, or to JP, or to really anybody that I think would matter, or would place value on you based on what really matters, it would be, I don't give a shit how much money you got in your bank account. But what I do notice is when you stop and pick up that trash, and quite frankly, the fact that you have a lot of money in your bank account, and you have a lot of power, and you have all these other worldly things that most people desire, and you stop to pick up the trash, that says even more about you, right? Because, if you got nothing going for you and you do it, you're still a good person and it's still the right call. But when you can do it and not allow yourself to be distracted by all the earthly trappings, then you really start to figure out what God's put you here for. So yeah, certainly that's why we talk about character so much, because the real fruit is the stuff that's inside of you. That's the real fruit. That's where it can spoil. And most things spoil from the inside out. So that should tell you a lot about that. It's interesting how God created stuff to just like always be an example of other stuff.
Yeah, and we oftentimes we overcomplicate, the ownership piece and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of guys, or men, however you want to phrase it, that I talk to on a regular basis, and I know Cam talks to on a regular basis, just seem to like not know which way to go. Like, what do I need to do? Where should I be? And I always defer back to like, let's just, to the point where we almost oversimplify this, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you do the right thing, you'll never be wrong. Oh, thanks a lot, Josh, for those words of wisdom. That's outstanding. Thank you for that. But if you apply that to everything that you do in life, right? Most of the time, we know what we're doing wrong. It's just a matter of we don't want to admit it, or we want to get confirmation that it's okay that we do that it's really not that bad, right? And it could be, whatever it may be. And maybe it's your diet, maybe you eat like crap, maybe you don't do a good job with your work, maybe you do, maybe you're not in the gym, you're not consistent, you're not there as a father, right? Maybe you're big shot at work and stuff like that, but you work 15 hours a day and you're never home. Or maybe you have a bad home life and you avoid home and you use work as a way to say that, oh, well, I gotta work over today or whatever. And you choose to do that, right, instead of a priority. That's why I always tell my kids, you do the right thing and you'll never be wrong. Right. And what that really helps you with is your decision making, right? Like, is this decision, is what I'm about to do the right thing? Is it aligned with what I believe? Is it aligned with where I'm going? Because if it's not, then I need to remove it. I don't need to ask anybody else, hey, is it okay if I kind of, like maybe fudge a little bit here and hop on the internet and look at some things I probably shouldn't be doing? And you know what you're doing, right? Some of you got Instagram, and if we went and scrolled through your Instagram, it'd be full of ladies and you're married.
Yep.
And that's a problem. It's not the right thing. And you could sit here and act, well, I didn't actually do anything. Well, you did something up here. There's a bunch of weeds that are getting planted in your head. But that goes back to what we're talking about from a maturity, character, and ownership aspect of your life. You've got to be an architect of your environment. If you've spent any time around me and Cam, then you know that we talk about this all the time. You are the architect of your environment. And that's God's expectation of you, is to be an architect of your environment. God wrote a whole there's a whole Old Testament that is just full of ways to build your life and what the ways you should live your life in the path. Like, he's the ultimate architect, but ultimately when it comes to making decisions, like, that's what you have to do. But most people don't do that, right? They're like, I feel like doing that. That immediate gratification seeps in. And Cam, you made kind of a slight mention about this a second ago, but that immediate gratification slips in there, and we go for it. We're like, okay, just this one time, it'll be okay. Just this one time. And then this one time turns into these 2 times, and these 2 times turn into these 3 times. And before you know it, you're a chick. Like we talked about a second ago. I'm kind of being funny with that, but the truth it's true though, because how do you move? It's like the old analogy with the ship, right? Like if I want to take the ship and get it off course, like let's say I don't want this ship to land where it needs to go, all I got to do is a slight adjustment where nobody on that ship will notice that it's off course. Nobody will notice, and it just a little bit at a time. And you're seeing that in society today. There's a little bit at a time. That whole do the right thing, you'll never be wrong. Like we're getting just a little bit. Well, don't worry about this time. Don't worry about this time. Don't worry about this time. And then we're way over here, and everybody's like, how the heck did we get out here? Right? It's because we got away from doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, because you do. I mean, we're just talking about this. Like, it's so absurd to think, like, how did we get to where we are, where we're arguing facts? Like, how did we get to this place? How did we get to this place of entitlement? Where I heard this today. I want to say it was on. I want to say it was on a Christian radio, which was fantastic. But they were talking about entitlement, and they were maybe it was somewhere else. But they're talking about this generation that has grown up entitled, and now they're adults. Well, I mean, argued, what some people would argue that, but what's that?
Of age.
Yeah, they
can buy cigarettes now.
They're old enough to be an adult, but
damn, they can vote.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, I know. I think about that all the time when I see certain people. I'm like, wow, they're allowed to vote.
No,
and they typically do around 3 a.m. But there's this group of people now that this generation has come up, and again, it's like you almost hate to get mad at them because you can't blame them, but you can blame the dads that weren't there. You can blame the men that weren't involved in their life, that weren't intentional about helping those. And I'll just speak about the boys become men, and now they are in a position where they're now having children, not themselves, although they think they can, but when they're reproducing in some way, form, or fashion. I think they still know how to do that, but it has become a complete nightmare because now the ship is so far over here, you almost can't even, like, we've turned so far that like you can't even see the previous target because it's behind us. Yeah. And it's like we can't even turn all of a sudden. We literally have to break our neck and adjust ourselves completely to say, oh wow, it's way back there. And probably more likely what's going to happen is, because you hear about the strong men, good times, more likely what's going to happen is the ship's going to keep turning the direction it's going until we go back to square one.
Yep.
And it's like, shit, we got to start over,
Yep.
And hey, so be it. If that's the case, at least, we got another opportunity to point forward, and as far as we're concerned, we're going to bring as many dudes along with us that are willing to now steer that ship and keep that fucking wheel straight. Yeah. Right. No matter what comes against us, no matter what kind of waves or little minor adjustments come against us, we're going to keep it straight, and then details, sorry to keep going here, but the details too, because like what you said, it doesn't change overnight, and it won't change back overnight. We talk about that a lot, but details matter. Little bitty things that where it's so easy, and it is easy to do, and we're all guilty of it. It's easy to go, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But it is. But it so is. And my encouragement would be like the next time that crosses your mind to go, that's not that big a deal, just stop for a second. I have to do this a lot. I did it this past week, where I have to stop and go, if I'm saying that's not that big a deal, maybe I just need to think about it one more time. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not today, but the slight edge effect or the compound effect of that is a big deal. And so I need to go, nope, like, don't go that route. Stay steady, stay steadfast, do what you know is right, even though it'd be really easy to just not do it. And even it's also easy to convince ourselves, we're only telling you stuff that we know we can be guilty of too. And if we didn't have accountability with each other, with other men, with our creator, if we did not put those frameworks and parameters in our life, we would go the same direction. We're no different. We're all sinful creatures that would make really stupid decisions outside of having accountability with other people, right? And responsibility. So it's very easy to go, all right, I'm gonna let it slide today because tomorrow I definitely won't let it slide. Bro, I'm telling you, how many times have we said that to ourselves? Like, it's not that big a deal, especially if I won't let that slide tomorrow. Dude, that is just the enemy on your shoulder going, this is that whole saying of, he doesn't tell you you can't be awesome. He doesn't tell you can't be an incredible dad or incredible father, or excuse me, incredible husband or incredible leader or super successful or buff or, whatever your thing is. He doesn't tell you you can't be any of those things. He just says, wait till tomorrow. Yeah. That's all he ever says is wait till tomorrow. Yeah. And that's exactly what's happened. We have, as a country, waited till tomorrow until facts are no longer facts.
Well, and that's where, that's a good point, and for some odd reason, we think of the devil as this two-horned, big red tail dragon looking thing that's creepy and, whatever. But to be honest with you, the devil's wrapped up in, pornography, procrastination, all these different things wrapped up into a unbelievably good looking man in a suit that is just has the perfect tongue behind him. Right. Like, and to your point, it's not like a you can't do this kind of thing. It's a wait till tomorrow kind of thing. It's a convincing kind of thing. You ever notice yourself giving into that bitch voice? Oftentimes it's because you're short-sighted with things, right? You've lost sight of the long-term goal, right? That's the biggest thing that, ultimately, as far as what I believe, there's a long-term goal of eternity, right? Like that's what I believe. You don't have to believe that. I would highly encourage you to. It's a good path to go. And if I'm wrong, then nothing happens. If I'm right, spend the rest of your life in eternity. But anyways, not to get on that soapbox, but that's the biggest difference there is being short-sighted as opposed to being long-sighted.
Long-term thing.
Long-term thing. That's the word I was looking at.
Well, it's having a vision, man without vision will perish. Yeah. Why do you always hear these things when it comes to personal growth and development, like vision is so important? Why do we talk about vision boards? Why do we talk about goals? It's not for just the point of talking about it. It's because in those moments where it's really easy to not do something or really easy to do something, if you have a vision of what you're trying to accomplish, it's a lot easier to stay on task. If you don't, if you're just like, I'm just going to approach every day with whatever happens to me that day with no end in mind and no vision, well, good luck on making the decisions that are easy to do and easy not to do, because it's more than likely on a high percentage of the time, you're just going to do what's easy, right? You're just going to take the path of least resistance. Whereas if you have a very crystallized, clear vision of what you're trying to accomplish as a person and as your life and your purpose, then it's going to be a lot more likely that you go, wait a minute, I'm about to let myself off the hook. But if I do, then that's not going to happen. That thing that I've been envisioning every morning, when I stop for a minute and I just get quiet and nobody's up yet, and I've already been in the Word, I've already meditated, I've already worked out maybe even, and I just take 5 minutes to just go, like, let me see it. I just want to I want my mind to see it clearly, and I want it to be like just embedded in my subconscious, to where you can't get it out of there, like to where my life is wrapped around whatever this thing is. And then in those moments when it's easy to not do something, your subconscious is going to kick in and be like, whoa, hold up, homie. Don't forget, this is what we're wrapped around right here. And I'm telling you, that's why. So like all these little things, they work together. Something I was going to say earlier, we're talking about details, and then we're talking about the enemy getting you off track. You ever wonder why there's a saying, the devil's in the details? I think sometimes people misunderstand that saying. The devil's in the details, because it's really easy if we don't pay attention to them, and if we don't give them the proper value that they should have, then chances are we're going down his path and not ours. To take ownership of the details too.
Yeah. Well, I mean it's all it takes is to alter the details just a little bit. All you gotta do is tweak the details just a little bit here and there, and you won't even notice until you start getting off track.
Until boys become girls.
Yeah, and if you don't have a good association, and the people around you, then you'll get way off track. The greatest thing about the association, and I don't mean to get into a whole nother ethos that we have in the Men Reforged program, but the reason that's so important is because those individuals, when the details do get off, when the devil seeps in and starts, just adjusting those pots just a little bit and starts to change your trajectory, your association that's around you are the guys that can come in there and go, hey bro, what's going on? What's wrong? What's happening? Something ain't right. Are you good? And they bring that to light, because sometimes when you're on the inside, you can't see it. Right. You can't see the inside from the inside. Right. You gotta be on the outside to take a look at it. So, and I think
here, I want to throw something in on that, because it's your inner circle. And when you're young, your inner circle is probably not hand selected. It's probably, more given to you. Ideally a father figure, or maybe an influential grandpa or uncle or somebody like that. But, when I think about inner circle, I think about somebody like you being able to go, hey, Cam, bro, you're getting off track, homie. Yeah. Like, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
Like, you need to think about this.
Yeah.
We have that permission with each other, right? I want that so badly. For there's like 3 or 4 or 5 people in my life, men in my life, and I'm like, bro, you don't need to ask. Like, you don't need to, like, is it cool if I tell you something that I might see? No, bro, hit me with a 4x4 in the face, especially if it's going to screw up my family, right? Like, I need that, right? So, I think if you take that into consideration with a father and his son, as a son is becoming a young man, there's, as we all know, those of us that are men biologically, as we all know, there are, there are things, that time, I was going to say that transition time, you can't even use the word anymore. That time frame from being a young boy to a teenager to a young man. There are times when the fathering is like, I'm proud of you. I love you. This is awesome. I'll see what you did there. This is so cool I see your heart, your spirit, da, da, da. There's also times, hey, don't do that. You're screwing up. And I believe that a big reason that we are in the position that we're in, where 2 + 2 = whatever we want it to be, is because there wasn't a dad going, hey, that's not right. That's not right. And if you don't have someone sitting there doing that, even though it doesn't feel good, even though you don't want to hear it, I don't want JP to be like, dude, you're screwing up. I don't like the way, I don't want to hear it, but I'm grateful for it, right? I'm super grateful for it. None of us like to be corrected, unless you understand that the correction is not coming from a place of just superiority. It's coming from a place of love. The correction is for your benefit, not for the person doing the correcting. So when a dad goes, hey, boy, that's enough of that. That's stupid. 2 + 2 is 4. I don't ever want to hear you say anything else other than 2 + 2 is 4, because you'll be wrong.
Yep.
Right? When we get away from that, then maybe 2 + 2 is something else. Nobody ever said it wasn't really. Right? So you see how slippery it can get.
Well, when it's accepted as right because that's what you want it to be, then you bypass the consequences of being wrong. Consequences of being wrong are great. I was actually just having this conversation with some guys who are doing roughly a $2.5 million project up in Chicago. So I just got off the plane from, and the conversation that I was having with one of the other engineers is some of the best lessons that I've ever learned have been from making mistakes. But the lesson came from the consequence of the mistake. And it's not that I learned better in that situation. It's that I didn't freaking forget it.
Right.
Because if somebody shields me from my consequences, what's to keep me from doing that again? Because your memory shortens dramatically when somebody shields you from your consequences. Right. And I'm a big proponent of consequences with my kids and everybody. Right. And it's like we talked about, and you touched on like inner circle when you start talking about that. And this is something that you need to do. And if you listen to this right now and you have an inner circle and you've got a good relationship and stuff, that is a really good segue into the difference between, accountability versus ownership, right? Like, I can't own what Cameron does in his development in his life, but I can hold him accountable with what he's told me. Right. That's kind of a short-sighted accountability where I can say, dude, Cam, I thought you said you was going to get in better shape, dude. Why ain't you at the gym? And I can do it in a loving way. And he knows what I mean by it and stuff. And I can bust his balls and everything. But ultimately, he has to own that. Right. But when we talk about long term, and I want to make sure that this is very clear, because I think this is where a lot of men get really mixed up, and this is something that we do in our high carbon events. And I'm giving away a little bit of the secrets and stuff, but we have guys write their eulogy. Now, there's different ways to go about that, but what I would encourage you to do is figure out how you want the story to end. How do you want your story to end? Because that's a good place to start, and it seems backwards, but that's a good place to start. How do you want it to end? And then when you know how you want it to end, you can start to forge the path that you have to live and walk to get there. But that doesn't, just because you have that doesn't mean it's going to happen. There has to be a level of ownership, right? There has to be conviction when you get off path, not beating yourself up. Conviction. There's a difference there. Conviction means, damn, I shouldn't have done that. I ain't doing it tomorrow. I'm not going to skip my reading tomorrow. Should not. And we all mess up, dude. Like, so don't misunderstand what me and Cam are saying. Like, being very vocally self-critical. There have been days I have not gone to the gym when I should have gone to the gym. There have been days when I ate shit I shouldn't have ate. You know, there are days when I didn't do my reading like I should have. There are days when I was a shitty dad and I did not do a good job of being a husband and stuff. It happens. The biggest thing, though, is the conviction is what, when you do this, goes, because that's how life is. Yep. We're like this. Your conviction is your guardrails. Like, if you don't have any conviction, you don't have any fear of consequences, and you don't have a vision of how you want the story to end, then you're just going to do this stuff. Go backwards, run around and stuff. But that's what keeps you in line. Do you think of those guardrails and that North Star that you have over there? If you know what you want the story to end like, and you know where your principles are, and your conviction is in place on, hey, that's what I want. I know that's what I want. I want to be known as that. This is how I'm going to live my life, and I'm not going to waver on that. That's how you get going in the right direction. You stay in the right direction.
100%. And if you don't know, because I know there's plenty of guys that'll hear this and they'll be like, where do I start? I have no idea. Like, all this sounds fantastic. Some of this is the first time I ever heard this. Like, sometimes we have to remind ourselves, just because we've been in this space of personal growth and development and acquiring a higher level of character and self for a while now. And we're still working on ourselves a lot. Like JP said, I was in the gym this morning. You know, I didn't want to be. It's cold and rainy here. I didn't want to go. But but sometimes we have to remind ourselves that this is new. So if you're hearing this, you're like, I don't even know where to begin this process. I'll tell you exactly where to begin. And I'm not telling you this because this is like self-promotion. I'm telling you that we are not the only men on earth that can help you get to wherever you want to go. We're 100% not. Matter of fact, we may not be the right ones. We may need to introduce you to somebody else that's a better, a mentor or an example or whatever. But this is what I know for sure. We have an incredible game plan to get people started. Literally, the number one, the level one of our Men Reforged membership is called Get Active, because you have to move. You have to start. You have to, there's two things we control: action and attitude. And I believe your attitude gets better with the more action you take. Right. But you have to get out of, you have to break inertia. Right. And you have to get going. It is a incredibly low cost membership to have access to the accountability piece that we've talked a lot about, which I think is way more valuable than most people give it credit for. Probably one of the biggest pieces of any of our levels is just the accountability. But the accountability, the game plan for creating the right association, for building your confidence, for building tenacity in yourself, the integrity piece, which we've hit on a lot on this conversation, the vision. Do you understand how it's all coming together? It is the etiquette. It all becomes one. It's like that guy JP was talking about, but with the right intentions. Slick dressed suit, influential dude, but with the right heart that wants to whisper in your ear, "You're fucking amazing, and you can do whatever you want to do." Right? And God created you to be a king, not a pussy. Yep. Right? So go to menreforce.com, check that out. We have level 2, level 3, get real, get some. They're a higher level of membership when it comes to one-on-one coaching and really digging deep. But I think for most dudes right now that are hearing this, for most of you, it's taking action and getting the ball rolling. And if you don't know how to do that, allow us to help you. We truly want to. We created this whole thing just so we could teach other dudes what we've been taught. Right? Some through our family and our fathers, and some through other coaches and mentors. But what we know and understand for sure is the truth about what it means to be an influential man and to have character and integrity and to play the masculine role as it needs to be played. We've put all that together in one place, so you don't have to go redo it. And we can take you through it step by step. We can help you start tomorrow, tonight, whenever it is that you're listening to this. Take the first steps of being the dude that you know you're supposed to be, but you've never had anybody show you how to get there. It's not really your fault, bro. You just got to get in the right environment so you can understand how to become a man. It's not okay to go another day being a boy. It's not okay to go another day just being a male. It's not okay to not be a good father anymore, to not be a good husband anymore, to not actually have impact in your community. Okay, it's not okay. You know it. You know it as I'm saying it right now. It hurts. It hurts because you sit there at night and you go, man, I'm such a fucking pussy and I haven't accomplished anything and I'm this many years old and I don't see anything on the horizon. I have no vision. I'm out of shape. I feel like crap. You know, my wife doesn't even want to kiss me. There's all these things that you know suck, but you don't know what to do about it. Dude, let us help you, man. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, bro. I'm telling you, like, I've never been more pumped about what we have been able to put in place because I understand how much of an impact it's going to have. And it's because we want to have the impact. That's the reason why. That's it. So anyways.
That was, yeah, that was spot on, Cam. And I think that, you know, one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about ownership is ultimately when it comes down to it, we can help you, but you got to own it, right? And you got to own taking the next step, you know, and if that means going to menreforge.com and jumping in there and digging into how it can help you, then that's great. But the beauty behind ownership is you will start to see a sense of intrinsic motivation, right? Progress as a man, I'm just going to tell you right now, one of the most beautiful things in the world as a man is progress. And progress doesn't just mean your career. Progress means like in anything. Progress and accomplishment associated with becoming a better being, right? That is the whole goal here, right? Live a life worth living, right? Chase after a life of purpose, right? And you can't live a life of purpose if you don't know how you want the story to end. And don't short sight things, man. Stop living day to day. I'm not saying don't live in the moment. Don't misunderstand that. You know, like as Cam says, don't hear what I didn't say. Like I'm not telling you not to live in the moment because I think that there's a lot of magic in that. But ultimately, there has to be a purpose. If there is a purpose, if you're living a purpose-driven life, then you don't need motivation from external sources. You've got all the motivation you need from inside, right? And all we want to do is inspire you to do so. That's it. That's all we're looking to do here. So, Cam, anything else you want to drop on the ownership side of things before we wrap things up?
Dude, I think we hit it all on the head and all the way around. And I just pray that dudes take action on what we're saying. You know, I'll reiterate this one more time as we wrap up. If you're hearing this and you're thinking it's okay to wait one more day, that's exactly what we're talking about. That is not okay. It's exactly what we're talking about, right? So do you understand? And I mean sincerely, whether it's working with us or working with somebody else or doing anything, just starting some kind of good habits, I really don't care. I sincerely do not give a shit how you start, but you need to start. It is not okay to wait another day, right? Well, the world is slowly slipping away from us because men keep putting it off another day. And you are not one of those dudes. You take ownership of your life, which has such a huge impact on the lives around you and a huge ripple effect. Understand how important it is and take action now, take ownership now and do something about it. Again, whether it's with us or with any other resources or any other relationships, just do it. Freaking do it.
Yeah, 100%. So Cam already plugged, I plugged menreforge.com. You can go over there, check it out. Like I said before, you could throw some feedback back and stuff. But one of the things we want to make sure we were getting it out there where people had access to it. So if there is something that you see that's off or whatever it may be, just let us know. We can go back in and correct it and everything. So what we wanted to do is get it out first, right? Give people an avenue where they can get connected and stuff. And we would love to inspire you. We'd love to help you along your path. But ultimately, just remember that ownership is taking responsibility for the outcome of everything in your life, right? Ownership is key. It's important. Procrastination is the killer of a man. And ultimately, that's what the devil wants, is for you to procrastinate. So take ownership, go check out the website, do what you need to do, become a man of influence, be a part of the movement.